So the first problem here says, if the given is a root, what else is a root? This is the easiest question we could ask. If negative 2 plus 3i is a root, what else has to be a root? What is that called? Negative 2 minus 3i compared to negative 2 plus 3i. That's the what? That is the conjugate. You don't have to memorize that word, but it's not a bad word to have in your vocabulary. It's the conjugate. What do we change when we make the conjugate? Crystal, what did we change when we made the conjugate? The sign in front of your I. So if it was plus 3i, it became negative 3i. Super easy question. Don't forget what we're doing there. Number 3 says list all the possible rational roots, or just the possible roots. What this is making the word bank. Okay? Out of every number in the entire world, we're going to list the possible rational roots for this problem. Show me with your fingers, how many answers is this problem going to have? It should be 3. It's cubed. Okay? So out of every number in the world, we're going to make a list. Remember when it asks for possible roots? That's P, Q, and P over Q. When we talk about P, P is whatever the last number is in your problem. So for us, what's our P going to be? 4. And I'm listing all of the factors of 4. So everything that multiplies together to get me 4, which would be 4, 2, and 1. Q is whatever number is listed first in the problem, the leading coefficient. So my Q in this case is 3, and all of the factors that multiply to get me 3. So 3 and what? 1. Out of every number in the world, that's what's going to give me my list. 4, 2, and 1, and 3 and 1. Now we're going to make our P over Q list. This is where all that stuff comes from. It's always a plus or minus list. And it's plus or minus all of my P's over all of my Q's. See if you can remember how to do that without me doing it for you. Take 30 seconds and try. So if I'm doing this list, do it pretty systematically. I'm going to start with this as my denominator, and I'm going to take all those numbers over 1. So 1 over 1 is 1. 2 over 1 is 2. 4 over 1 is 4. I used up that 1. It's now gone. I don't have to worry about that anymore. Now I'm going to do a denominator of 3. So I'm going to take 1 over 3, 2 over 3, and 4 over 3. I can't simplify. Nothing else is going on there. That's my list. Out of every number in the world that would solve this question, those are the 6 possibilities, plus or minus, that we could use to solve it. Questions on listing possible roots. Let's go to the next one. This seems to be the one that we're struggling with the most today, which is not the hardest in my opinion, but we are struggling a little bit. So it says find all of the roots. Show me with your fingers, how many roots is this problem going to have? Should be 4, because it's x to the 4th. We can start doing this by listing the p's and the q's. Okay, I'm just going to fast forward here. The p over q list is plus or minus 1 and 2. Those are the only 2 numbers that are going to work here. Okay, I had a student earlier that said, well, I only got 4 numbers listed there. I've got 1, negative 1, 2, and negative 2. Are those just my answers? And that's not necessarily true, because these are possible roots. Okay, possible real roots. You could have imaginary numbers, and also one of the numbers could be repeated. Like technically you could have the number 1 twice. So it doesn't just say those are my answers. To figure out what are my answers though, I'm going to do synthetic division and start guessing and checking. It's not your favorite thing to do, but you're going to guess and check. What number would be the best number to start with? Try it. See if you can get 1 to work. We're going to test 1 to start, so I put 1 in the box, drop the 1, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. I got 0, yay for me. I got 0. Okay, great. That means this 1 up here is a 0. It is a root. That is one of my answers. This was an x to the 4th problem, and I just found one of my answers. That means this 1 right here, 1, negative 2, 1, negative 2. What does this 1 mean here? 1, x to what power? the third, because it was x to the fourth, and I just found one of the answers. So this is x cubed, this is x squared, this is plus 1x, and that's minus 2. Do we know how to solve an x cubed problem? We don't. If we get to x squared, we can solve it. But I don't know how to do an x cubed problem. And so I wish I did, but I can't. And so I have to continue to do synthetic division. So now I'm doing synthetic division, though, with this polynomial. So I'm going to do 1, negative 2, 1, and negative 2. And I'm going to try to figure out what number works. So we just did 1. What number should we try next? Negative 1. Try synthetic division with negative 1 and see if it works. So we tried negative 1. Negative 1 didn't get me 0, so it didn't work. So if negative 1 didn't work, now I'm trying 2. Drop the 1. Multiply. Add. Multiply. Add. Multiply. Add. I get 0 there. I got 0. That's great. That means this 2 up here is a root. That's one of my answers. It was an x cubed problem that we started with, and we just got rid of one of the answers. So this 101 is 1 what? It was an x cubed, and I just got rid of an answer. This is 1x to the what power? X squared plus 0x plus 1. Or in other words, x squared plus 1. Can I solve an x squared problem? Yeah, I can, so I'm going to solve that thing now. X squared plus 1. All I need to do to solve it is set it equal to 0. And I'm going to solve that thing. Solve it. X squared plus 1. Try and figure that out without me. I should have 4 answers here. I have 1 from the first one I got. I got 2 from this one. Then I got to solve x squared plus 1 to find my last 2. Matthew, what am I going to do to solve that thing? Subtract 1. So x squared is negative 1. Then what? Square root, square root. X is going to be equal to what then? Plus or minus the square root of negative 1. The square root of 1 is 1. And then he knows he's taking the square root, so he said plus or minus 1i. Or obviously just plus or minus I. Those are my 4 answers. The 1, the 2, and then the plus or minus I from that part. Questions there? That one's worth a lot. There's lots of steps. There's lots of things could go wrong. Just keep being systematic through that and make sure you're following directions. Questions on 3 or on whatever number that is. Go to the back side. Okay, on the back side it says write the polynomial of the given degree with the zeros provided. So it says the degree is 2. That means when we get done, we better have an x squared problem. That's what the degree of 2 means. All right, it means we have how many answers if your degree is 2? You're going to have 2 answers because it's a degree of 2. Negative 4 plus 2i is a root. It's telling you that. So I have negative 4 plus 2i is a root. What else is going to be a root? Negative 4 minus 2i. The conjugate. He just changed the sign in front of the imaginary part. So we start off with the roots. We're doing the opposite of what we just did. We start off with the roots. Once we have the roots, then we're going to write the factors. When we talk about factors, factors are written with x. So if I want to take this negative 4 plus 2i and write it back inside of parentheses with an x, what do I need to do there? Remember like this, if I told you 3 was a root, what would the factor look like? X minus 3, right? If I had negative 7 as a root, the factor would be x plus 7. We change the sign when we write it with x. When we have a factor, you change the sign. So if I had negative 4 plus 2i, what sign is going to come up after that x? Thumbs up if you think it's a plus sign, thumbs down if you think it's a minus sign. You want the opposite of this. So if it says minus, it's really going to be plus 4 plus 2i. What about with that second one, with that x? Give me a thumbs up if you think it's a plus sign. Give me a thumbs down if you think the next sign is going to be minus. It's also going to be plus because that's a minus. So it's the opposite. Plus 4. This sign's different. Minus 2i. That's the hardest part about this problem is setting up your factors. Once you set up your factors, now we're going to FOIL. You can't do this on your calculator because it's got x's in it. You wish it could. That'd make life easier. Instead, we had a special method. You could technically FOIL. You don't want to do that. We had a special method of foiling things. You have to kind of remember the name of that thing because it tells you the directions. How do we FOIL stuff? What's that method called? Sums and products. That tells you how to do the problem. You got to figure out the sums and you got to do the products. Okay, remember it's kind of the shortcut to foiling. You always start off with x squared because you're going to take x times x. That gets you x squared. Then we're doing sums. Mary, what are we going to add together if we're doing sum? The 4 and the 4. She's going to add the real thing, so that gets me what? 8. And then you could also take 2i and negative 2i and add those together. It's going to be, because if you take the 2i and the negative 2i, what's going to happen with those two things? They cancel. And when they cancel like that, it should remind you, oh yeah, this is the middle term of a trinomial. The middle term of a trinomial always has an x with it. So Mary's right. She said plus 8x in there. It's the middle term of a trinomial. It's going to have an x. Then we're doing products. Products means, what are we doing? Multiplication. If I'm doing multiplying here, Maddie, I'm taking 4 times 4. What's that going to get me? 16. So plus 16. And then I'm going to take 2i times a negative 2i, which would get me what? Yeah, you did all this. I'm going to write out the long version, which is negative 4i squared, because 2 times negative 2 is negative 4, and then you've got an I squared. Okay, but Maddie's good at this. She knew what the next step was. Okay, she knows that she can simplify this. This is x squared. This is plus 8x. And then she's got minus 16 minus 4i squared. What do I put instead of I squared? Negative 1. And she knows that if it's negative 4 times negative 1, that really means plus 4. So what number is going to go after that 8x then? Plus what? 20, because it is 16 plus 4 together. There's my trinomial. That is what I get when I multiply them together. Because